familiar with the idea that the only constant is change? Change is always happening. Nothing ever stays the same for very long. Today, I want to wrap up this series that we've been doing about change with an exploration of what it might look like to hasten positive change rather than allow negative change to take over. We can both hasten the positive and reduce the negative, right? And I've been using a helpful analogy for over a decade that's helped give me some perspective that I've needed to stick with social change efforts. So if you seek to do good for the less fortunate in and through your life and business and make some money for yourself while doing so, if you're what they call a triple bottom line entrepreneur or a mission-driven entrepreneur, I dedicate this episode to you. Welcome to the Fife Movement. I'm your host, Amanda Neely. This is the only movement that helps our generation create our unique entrepreneurial and feminine approach to financial independence. Now, the analogy I have for you today is something we call the river. The river is a concept that we first learned of from a man named Try Robinson, really awesome guy, way back in 2009. And it's something that we've continued to develop and adapt over time and make our own. So today I've got an image for you to go along with what I'm talking about. So let me share my screen so you can see that image. So here you have a river, and this river has many tributaries, many streams that feed into it. And the river that we're going to look at today first represents everything that's wrong in the world. These are the things that might depress you or make you angry. They aren't fun to dwell on or think about, but they are a reality. The suffering in the world is a great place to start in order to find your business idea and figure out which form of suffering you can help alleviate through your business activity. Maybe the suffering is something you or someone that you love has experienced as well. These can be a little hard to think about, but I think it's where we must start. And great entrepreneurs find a great problem and then they solve it in a great way, right? So this river is where you're likely to find the problem that you're uniquely gifted to solve. So at the head of the river up here, we see a lack of meaning. People don't really know their reason for being alive or the purpose or meaning behind their lives. For those with a lack of meaning, everything might seem fine, but there's this inner emptiness. No matter how much money they make, those with a lack of meaning just work for the money. There's no passion or purpose behind their work. A lack of meaning can lead to struggles with depression and addiction. We also have leadership corruption, something we know in the United States all too well. But it's not just in government, it's also in business as well. We also have educational inequalities. Adults and children lack access to quality education. There's environmental decline where, this includes the general environment, but it also includes things that affect like the whole planet, but also localized things like famine, hurricanes, tsunamis, earthquakes, wildfires, and many more types of disasters. Then we have hunger. People lack access to healthy food or are unable to grow or purchase healthy food. Then there's poor health and disease. This includes lack of access to quality health care and exposure to diseases such as HIV, AIDS, malaria, and so forth. And then human injustice or discrimination, right, fits there as well. People are not given the rights inherent to all human beings. Individuals and groups are treated differently because of their nation of origin, location, language, religion, ethnicity, or some other status. And all of these streams kind of gather together and flow into this river that then flows into a sea. And I call the sea at the end the sea of poverty. Each of these items that we went through is a contributing factor to poverty. And for those who live in poverty, they experience most, if not all, of these issues. Now, one really unique thing about this river is that You can imagine it on different scales. This river runs through your neighborhood. This river runs through your state, your nation. This river also represents the entire world. Another thing to keep in mind is that this river doesn't just represent monetary poverty. You and I both know the emotional, mental, spiritual, and relational poverty that comes from many of these streams. And even if you live in a monetarily rich neighborhood, you aren't totally free of this river. At least one, but probably many of these tributaries can be seen if you look hard enough at millionaire and billionaire communities. But it doesn't have to be this way. We can clean up the pollution in these streams. We can go to the sources of these streams and remove the pollution. Real lasting change happens upstream. So let's look at the alternatives. Instead of human justice, let's add some equal human rights into the river. Some crystal clear blue water representing human beings being treated as human beings, all of great value. Instead of prejudice, discrimination, and human trafficking, we have compassion, empathy, and ethical trade relationship. Then let's replace poor health and disease with health. Blue water representing people getting access to the healthcare they need, no matter their socioeconomic background or country of origin. Might we go so far as to imagine that here there are cures for cancer and HIV, AIDS, and malaria, and the rest of it? Now, instead of the pollutant hunger, let's imagine some blue water in the form of sustainability, where people can provide healthy food for themselves. Even when there's a famine or drought, people are able to eat well. Then we move on to environmental decline and replace it with environmental stewardship. This is where we take care of our planet and our planet takes care of us. If a natural disaster does occur, there are systems in place to care for everyone, not just those who can afford to evacuate or resettle. You might guess this next one. Instead of educational inequalities, we have equal access to education. Boys and girls, men and women, all skin colors, religions, and cultures all receive quality education that prepares them to provide for themselves and their families in a way that fulfills them. Leadership corruption seems pretty scary to tackle, but what would we replace it with? We've come up with leadership integrity. Integrity, where what you say and what you do are in alignment and are aligned with the values of compassion and respect for all people. Finally, we replace lack of meaning with one word, meaning, where you and I know our purpose, what we're good at, and how it helps make the world a better place, adding some more blue water to this new ecosystem, which now this river, instead of being black with pollution, is turning blue. It's become clearer and clearer. And, no more pollutants, just simply good old H2O. And this is going to ultimately change the vast ocean that the river is pouring into. So what would you put in place of poverty? I'll pause for a moment here to give you time to come up with an answer. The answer that I've come up with, I'll put here, enough. This is an ocean where people are treated like people, have healthy lives with good food on a planet that they only take what they need from. An ocean where people receive great educations, have leaders they can trust, and know the purpose of their lives. The whole idea behind this river analogy is the idea of going upstream. In addition to rescuing people from the sea of poverty, we need to go to the root causes of that poverty so that fewer and fewer people end up needing rescued. And for you, anything you do to solve a problem upstream both solves that problem and aids in solving problems further downstream. If we live in an interconnected world where we need to cooperate in order to survive, like I discussed in the last episode, then this stream also doesn't just flow one way. Just like the water from our oceans evaporates and it rains or snows down on the tallest mountains, the effect of poverty anywhere impacts others everywhere. It's a cooperation. It's a cycle. I'll leave you with some questions to end this episode and this series about change. And then next week, we're going to get into some really practical stuff. What if more and more people thought this way? What if more and more people realized the interconnectivity of our world and cooperated in ways that solve the big issues? Is that the way to hasten change? Might that be the way to protect those most vulnerable to be harmed by change? How do you and your business not only solve a problem, but also connect and cooperate with others in other streams, solving problems there? How would your money and what you do with it be impacted by such a world? How might you go upstream and solve a problem without money being involved at all? That's maybe the most revolutionary question. How could money not be involved at all and yet things still change? Thanks for joining me and connecting with the Fife movement. As you go about your day, remember, wealth is coming your way. Your quest is to prepare for using it well. For more tips on how to prepare, be sure to subscribe. To connect with the community, visit fifemovement.com. And if my gift today has helped you, please pay that gift forward by sharing this content with a friend. My gratitude in advance. To help this video be seen by more people, please hit the like button, and we invite your comments and feedback below.